I would like this series of lectures to be very informal and interactive as well. So please feel free to interrupt me with questions or comments or even criticisms, whatever you may want to share. Although the lecture series is on Ayurveda, I am going to begin with the allopathic system of medicine for a couple of very simple reasons. For all systems of medicine, the converging point is the patient. So aim of all systems of medicine is very noble. They want to cure the diseases of the patient. So we should be able to use any one as a platform to start the discussion. And I am going to use the Western system of medicine as a platform to start the entire discussion of these lectures. And the reason is, of course, that we are all very familiar with the Western system of medicine. It's easy for us to relate much more easily. So this is the reason for me to start these lectures with allopathic system of medicine. Now I'm sure you know some of these points that I'm going to start with, something that you all would be familiar with. So Western medicine is not a fundamental science. It is an applied science, and it uses fundamental sciences like physics and chemistry. Talking of physics, not because I'm a physicist, but it has played a major role in biology and medicine, in the way human system is perceived in modern science and modern biology and modern medicine. So physics has contributed to biology and medicine in a couple of ways. One is theories, and the other obvious thing is the technologies. So here you can see that almost all branches in physics, be it mechanics, fluids, thermodynamics, electricity and magnetism, sound and light, quantum phenomena, nuclear radiation. So there are various concepts of these branches in physics which have been used to understand how the system works, how the biological system works. And not only that, it has also led to development of technologies to either diagnose diseases or treatment, or in understanding the pathophysiology. So for example, if you take mechanics, energy, power, these concepts have been used to understand how the muscles function and how the locomotor system in the body works. And if you look at sound and light, you know, hearing, how vision is, how one sees, all these are understood based on these concepts here. So you can see that each of these has contributed certain concepts and also technologies. For example, MR imaging is application of quantum physics. So you can see that there is a huge role that physics has played in advancing biology and medicine. And it has been very, very influential in bringing the modern medicine to the state it is at the present. But what probably people have not thought much about, and what is less appreciated, is the fundamental perspective of human system physics has given. In what way? So we know that there are two branches in physics, classical and quantum physics. And classical physics, you all know, deals with large objects, their behavior, their movement, forces between them, and the laws governing them. And some of these laws are even applied to understand the biological system, how it works. But what is of great relevance is the perspective. CP is a short form for classical physics. The perspective of classical physics on nature of reality and world. This is the fundamental basis of how modern medicine and science understands the human system. So what is this world view of classical physics? It looks at the entire physical world as a mechanical system that can be reduced to its fundamental building block. And what is the fundamental building block? It is the atom. So anything physical in the universe is made up of atoms and molecules and so on. So you see how the modern biology has come up with this model for the human system. So at the fundamental, the basic entity is the atom, and atoms make molecules, molecules make organelles, organelles make cells, cells make tissues, then you have organ system, and then the entire organism. the entire organism is understood in basis of various systems. So you have a reproductive system, you have cardiovascular system, you have digestive system, and so on and so forth. Now there are a couple of interesting points here. One is that there is a clear structural hierarchy in this model. In the reverse way, this entire human organism can be reduced to the level of, if not atom, definitely to the level of molecules. In fact, modern medicine is called molecular medicine because it understands diseases at the level of molecules, and it also diagnoses and treats at the level of molecule. So for this reason, modern medicine is called a reductionistic approach to biology. So this reductionism, which stems from the worldview of classical physics, has become the platform for understanding biology, medicine, even nutrition. I will cover about this when I give the lecture on diet and prevention in Ayurveda, and also diagnosis and treatment. So this is there is a methodological reductionism, be it in understanding how the system works, be it in understanding the pathophysiology, be it in diagnosing and treatment. So the reductionistic worldview of classical physics has played a major role in how the human system is perceived. So the human system is considered as made up of structures as in a machine. So as you can, kind of break the machine down into its parts and then analyze it and handle it, the same way the human system is also considered as a machine, and you can reduce it to parts, its components, and then understand how the system works. And this is the philosophical basis of modern medicine in a nutshell. When you have a system as complicated as a human system, we need to be able to kind of classify and categorize the entire system to be able to handle the information. Otherwise, it will be too much to handle. So you can say that it is for easy handling. The components or the organs have been grouped into different functional groups. So coming back to this figure, again you can see that there are various systems, and these systems, what do these systems mean? They are actually organs which participate in a particular function, and these are put together. For example, if you take cardiovascular system, you have the heart and the lung and the blood vessels. So these contribute to the function of distribution of blood and oxygen to the entire system. So this is the basic perspective viewpoint of modern medicine. It is a predominantly structural viewpoint. I tell predominantly because it also looks at functions, but this is a standpoint of major standpoint of modern medicine. There is also a structural basis, biochemical model in modern medicine. So you can see the entire biochemical pathway of the human system. But what is interesting is that this is still based on the structural model, except that at every level of the structural hierarchy, you talk about biochemistry. So you have a molecular biochemistry, you have organelle biochemistry, you have a cellular biochemistry, and so on. But the basic model, structural hierarchical model remains the same, be it looking at it in terms of structures or from a biochemical point of view. So this kind of standpoint of modern medicine has resulted in a reductionistic approach, be it in understanding of human body or diagnosis or treatment, as I have been telling. Now let's see how the diagnosis is done in allopathic system of medicine, and how we can relate it to the structural viewpoint and the reductionistic approach. Predominantly the diagnosis is based on structures. For example, you look at many of these imaging techniques, they are all structure based. Be it X-rays, ultrasound, you have radionuclide scan. You see that in all the scanning techniques, imaging techniques, you are looking at structures. Now let's look at biochemical investigation. Right? So let's take the example of, say, anemia. So what is the doctor going to look at? Blood. Yes, that is a structure. It's not a gross structure, but it is a subtle structure. Right? And another example, let's say diabetes. We are going to look at insulin or glucose. So they are still structures. So even the biochemical tests are basically looking at the structures. And let's look at microbiological examination. What are they going to look on? Virus, whether there is a virus there, whether there is a parasite there, right? Or whether there is a bacteria. These are all again structural entities. So in modern medicine, we have the investigation is done at the lowest possible level, right? And identification of malfunctioning component plays a major role in the diagnosis of modern medicine. So you can see that there is a methodological reductionism which predominates even in diagnosis. And what to talk of the treatment strategies. The treatment will have to be in tune with the diagnosis. If the diagnosis is going to be looking at structures, then the treatment will have to be in step with it. So you can see that surgery plays a major role. And if there is anemia, there is supplementation of the structural entity that was reduced or missing. And you have organ replacements. And if a person has a short sight, not able to see, then a mechanical intervention is provided and so on. So this is knee, prosthetic knee. So the diagnosis is based on structures and the treatment is either rectifying the structures or replacing the structures or supplementing the deficiencies, or there is a chemical manipulation. And chemical manipulation is again structure based. So this is the predominant viewpoint of modern medicine. And it is, I'm sure you all appreciate the fact that it is a reductionistic approach. There is nothing right or wrong about it, don't get me wrong. So there are some advantages in reductionism, there are some disadvantages. Talking of the advantages, there is a better understanding of the intricate components and processes involved at the cellular level. You can actually identify the particular component which is malfunctioning, and it can lead to very targeted therapy. For example, if insulin is not produced, then you can actually, the doctors can give only insulin because that is the targeted therapy. Now, is there a possibility of any other viewpoint on human system? So that is the question, and let's see. Let's start here. What does modern science say? Because we all would like to have modern science as the golden standard. So let's see whether different viewpoints are permitted in modern science. So let's have one sample. Let's say some matter, and can all these three subjects study the same matter but from different perspectives? Yes, why not? Physics will talk about forces between particles, and chemistry will talk about interactions between particles, how these are arranged and rearranged to form new chemical substances. And biology, if the matter is animated matter, if it has life, then biology will talk about it deals with life. So you have the same subject matter, but you can look at it from different perspectives. That's very much possible. So if we can do that for a simple matter, then human system is so complicated. It has many structures. Some of the structures are gross, some of them are subtle. It has numerous biochemicals and any number of functions and a range of activities from electrical, magnetic, mental to even, if it's agreeable to you, we can say even spiritual activities. Right? Now what does this mean? This means that you can actually understand the human system from any of these different perspectives. Each one may or may not give complete information about the human system, but they would be rational and scientific in their own way. For example, we can look at understand the human system in terms of electrical activities. For example, let's get back to this diagram. You can see that there is electrical activity from the level of atoms, and you can see this cell. You have neurons, discharging here, and then you have action potentials. You know that the ECG of the heart actually measures the electrical signals. So you can actually look at the human system based on electrical activities, or you can look at it based on magnetic fields as well. But these only will give limited information about the human system. There are only three major perspectives which gives more or less complete information about the system. One is structure, one is the biochemistry, the other is the functions. Now we have seen that modern medicine understands the human system from a predominantly structural perspective. Using that as a platform, it also has a biochemical viewpoint. Now let's look at functions. Now you don't have to be a medical doctor or even a scientist to say that function has many contributing factors. There is no single particular factor which you can say contributes to function. So structures play an important role. For a function to manifest, you need to have structure. So if the function of the movement of my arm is to be seen, then the structure has to be there. Without this, the function of movement will not occur. So structure is very important. So you can see the heart, the beating of the heart here. Now you don't even have to change the structure of the heart, you just put it upside down. It's not going to function in the same way. Right? So structures plays an important role, and I don't have to tell you all that biochemistry has to be the right one, otherwise the system is not going to function properly. And electrical activities, the body is full of ions, charged particles moving all over. So there is going to be electrical activity throughout the system. And so as far as the heart is concerned, you know that there is a natural pacemaker here which gives electrical signal for the heart to contract and pump out the blood. So wherever there is electrical activity, you are going to have magnetic activities, and all these and many more that I have not listed, all these contribute to a function. So a function has many contributing factors, and we can say that it's an emergent property of all these contributing factors. Now what is interesting is that structure and biochemistry, which is the viewpoint of modern medicine, is inbuilt into the function. Now this is exactly how Ayurveda looks at the human system. So Ayurveda's perspective of the human system is predominantly functional in nature. Having said that, I would like to say that there are other perspectives also in Ayurveda. So Ayurveda classifies the human system into two, physical and subtle. And in the physical classification, there are three different classifications that Ayurveda talks about. One is structure based. This is in Sanskrit, it's called Dhatu. And this is called Srotas. It is a system-wise classification, not the kind of system-wise classification that modern medicine talks about. Still, it's a system-wise classification. And then we have the function-based classification. Now, I am going to elaborate a bit on these functions. These are called dosha. Dosha means something that can get aggravated, can go off balance. So that's the meaning of dosha. I am focusing on this because this runs as an undercurrent to the entire understanding in Ayurveda, be it in normal physiology or pathophysiology or in diagnosis or in treatment. So that's about how the physical body is classified, and you have the subtle body where they talk about levels of awareness. So I'm not going to touch upon this definitely in today's lecture. So as I said, when we are dealing with a complex system, we need to have some classification. We have seen how modern medicine has classified and categorized the human system. They have classified it based on structures. Now Ayurveda has also done a classification. It has identified three major functions in the body: movement, metabolism, and then growth. So these are called Vata, Pitta and Kapha. Many of you may have heard of these terms, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. These are words in Sanskrit. And in the context of Ayurveda, Vata refers to movement. Please note that Vata does not mean movement. It's not a translation. Vata refers to movement, Pitta refers to metabolism, and Kapha refers to growth. So without going into the nitty-gritty details of these classifications, I would like to give you all a flavor of what comes under these three classifications. All movements in body and mind comes under Vata. So Ayurveda never delinks body and mind, be it in understanding normal physiology or in understanding the disease process. Body and mind is considered one cohesive unit, and the movement can be a gross movement like this or a subtle movement like this. You can see the heart beating, you can see the movement of blood in and out, and or even a subtle movement like this, you can see the molecules moving in and out of the cell membrane, or something even subtler, movement of thoughts, even that comes under Vata. Any kind of movement comes under Vata. So it coordinates all sense faculties and it initiates all types of action. So these are some of the attributes that comes under Vata. I would like to mention that this is not the exhaustive list of what comes under Vata. This is, I have just taken some cardinal points to convey the message. Right? Now, if you look at Pitta, all metabolic processes, be it at the physical level or at the mental level, both of these come under Pitta. So at the physical level, it is digestion and transformation of food and nutrients, and at the mental level, thoughts and emotions. In case you are wondering what is this digestion and transformation at the mental level, let me try to explain this with an example. Let's say that we give a piece of information to 4 or 5 different people, and you can rest assured that the response will not be the same. The response will be different. Why is that? Because each one has their own bias and prejudice, that their brain is conditioned depending upon their background and so many other factors. So how a particular information is taken in, how it is processed in the brain, and how it comes out as a reaction is what's meant by digestion and transformation. So thoughts and emotions come under Pitta, and these are a couple of defining parameters which come under Pitta. So pH and temperature, we know from modern science that it plays a major role in metabolic processes. Right? And so Ayurveda, of course, they don't mention the word temperature and pH, but this is when you understand what the term they are talking about, it's basically it's temperature. They talk about acidity, which is pH, and temperature is something that they mention as temperature in Sanskrit, of course. So Kapha refers to physical growth and support. So it is responsible for structural basis, stability and lubrication. So let me reiterate that these are all information taken from classical Ayurvedic texts. And so it's just that these are written in English. So all the psychophysiological functions in the body are classified under these 3 broad categories of Vata, Pitta and Kapha. And there is also further subclassification. So each one of them is subclassified into 5 different types. So between these 15 types of Vata, Pitta and Kapha, all psychophysiological functions come. So there won't be any psychophysiological functions which comes outside the purview of these 15 subclassifications. Now there is a very interesting feature which I am sure it has already struck you all. The big difference between the way modern medicine understands the human system and the way Ayurveda has understood the human system. So this is a structural hierarchical model where the entire organism can be reduced to the level of the fundamental entity. And here in the Ayurvedic understanding of the human system, there is no hierarchy. It is not that first Vata comes and then Pitta comes and then Kapha comes. No. These 3 functions exist at all levels. Now I have tried to explain this using this picture of Russian nestling dolls. There are a couple of two interesting features of this. One is of relevance to us. What is of relevance? One is that all these dolls get into the big one. That's not what is of important or interest to us. What is of interest is if you use a magnifying lens and then look at the smallest doll here, you will find that not a single feature of the big doll would be missed. All the features that you see here will be seen in the smallest doll. So in the same way, whether you are looking at the level of molecules or cell or the entire organism, these 3 functions, movement, transformation and growth, is going to exist in all levels. Right? So this is a very different perspective of the human of Ayurveda. And if Vata, Pitta and Kapha cover just, they refer to the functions, then there is, Ayurveda would not be a successful clinical science. What makes it a successful clinical science is the second point here. This under Vata, Pitta and Kapha, there are also certain physical, chemical and physiological parameters which contribute to these functions. For example, you look at the physical parameters, dryness, fluidity, size, these are all parameters mentioned in Ayurveda. You don't have to be a scientist to realize that a change in any of these is going to change movement. What happens if there is increase in dryness? Movement is going to be affected. What happens if the viscosity of the blood changes? For many of the heart patients, blood thinners are required because as the blood becomes viscous, its movement is slowed down. Right? So these are all physical parameters which affects movement. And there are also chemical parameters like pH and physiological parameters like temperature. We already know that these play a major role in metabolism. So what the ancient Ayurvedic physicians seem to have done is they have identified set of parameters which are physical, biophysical and physiological in nature and trying to classify them under Vata, Pitta and Kapha depending upon which impacts these functions. So basically there is no single one-word translation for Vata, Pitta and Kapha. Vata, Pitta and Kapha are actually functional classifications. So they refer to a function and a set of parameters which contribute to those functions. So this is what has made Ayurveda a ticking and very clinically successful science. Now we can, this kind of presentation is mine. So Ayurveda doesn't talk about this network, but when you understand Ayurveda, especially from the clinics, you know that they are talking about a network of parameters. So I have shown the parameters under Vata, Pitta and Kapha as network. So each of these functions, movement, transformation and growth, can be represented as a set of module, network module. And you can see that these are parameters which impact movement, and you can see that they are connected with each other. Again, some of these connections are already mentioned in Ayurveda, and some of them have logical inference that they have to be connected. For example, mobility and weight, they are connected. So you see that these are, each function can be represented by a module where with components which are intra-connected with each other. So what this means is that a change in one is going to change many other parameters. Now what is of great importance is that these parameters are not only intra-connected, they are also interconnected with each other. So if you look at parameters under, let's say, take this parameter heat. This is increased temperature which comes under Pitta. What happens when there is heat or when the temperature is increased? It will cause dryness, it will change the temperature, it will change the mobility, it will change the weight and so on. So a single parametrical change is going to have create changes or have repercussions in parameters which comes under both under its own category and also under Vata and Kapha. Now this is another example, kind of bringing more clarity to the previous slide. So when there is increase in temperature, which means Pitta is increased, you see that there are certain parameters under its own category, and the Pitta which undergoes change, some under Vata, some under Kapha as well. Now this gives, so this is another example of what happens when there is increase in dryness. Dryness is a cardinal parameter under Vata. You see that there are parameters under Vata and Pitta and Kapha which changes. Now this slide actually, I will come back to this slide. I'll go back to that slide after this one. Now although modern medicine does not talk about dryness per se. They do talk about medical dryness. There are certain conditions, clinical conditions, where there is dryness plays a major role. For example, a dryness in eye is called xerophthalmia, dryness of mouth is called xerostomia, and when any tissue there is dryness, it atrophies, it shrinks, and dryness of in joint is osteoarthritis and so on. Now let me go back to this slide. Now you see here what happens when dryness increases. There is a decrease in lubrication, right? Now let me explain this with the help of this a very common clinical condition, osteoarthritis. So what is modern medicine explain? How does it explain osteoarthritis? It says that there is reduction in the synovial fluid, right? So whenever there are two joints, there is a lubricating fluid, which makes the movement smooth. What happens if the lubricating fluid reduces? There is going to be friction when these the joints move, and friction will cause inflammation. It can cause pain. It can cause immobility and so on. So modern medicine says that there is a reduction in the synovial fluid, and that causes osteoarthritis. Now Ayurveda tells pretty much the same in a slightly different way. You see, it says that there is increase in dryness for that particular patient, and you see what happens when there is increase in dryness, lubrication reduces, right? And for this particular patient, the vulnerable point is the joint, so it is manifesting as a osteoarthritis. If the vulnerable point was xerostomia, the patient will have severe dryness in the mouth. If the vulnerable point was the skin, the patient will have xerosis and so on. So the treatment is, what's going to be the treatment? In modern medicine, what is the treatment for osteoarthritis? Well, they have nothing. They give painkiller because pain is a major clinical symptom, and so they give medicines to reduce the pain, and or if there is an inflammation, they give anti-inflammatory, and when it goes to a stage where this doesn't work, they suggest knee replacement surgery. Okay? Now, make a guess how the treatment in Ayurveda will be using this slide. What is the causative for this? Dryness.
Reduce the dryness.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So it reduces. So Ayurvedic treatment, the positive factor for osteoarthritis in Ayurveda is dryness. In fact, even in modern medicine, it's dryness. It's just that they have not. The line of thinking is slightly different. They say synovial fluid is reduced. They don't know why it is. They don't go on to say why it is reduced. Right? They simply say it's a degenerative. It's a degenerative disorder. But Ayurveda very clearly says that there is increase in dryness, and for this particular patient, the vulnerable point has been the joint, and so the patient has osteoarthritis. So the treatment will be a systemic treatment to reduce the dryness, right? And they will also give a treatment to the joint, to the organ where there is already a clinical manifestation, right? So by giving a systemic treatment, they prevent any of these further problems. So the treatment is addressing not only the positive factor but the property. So dryness is a property, right? So the treatment in Ayurveda does not address any particular organ. There is no targeting of organ structural entities. It targets properties. So, so this is a big difference, fundamental difference between Ayurveda and modern medicine. So this is a snapshot of the complexity of the intra and interconnections between the various parameters in Vata, Pitta and Kapha. So you can see that, again let's go back to this parameter. So when there is increase in temperature, there is going to be, it's going to cause dryness, increased dryness, and dryness itself has connected with intra and intra connected with many other parameters. So we think that it's only an increase in temperature, but there are number of parameters which actually undergoes, which gets affected. So basically, Ayurveda is looking at the human system as a network of these various properties. So this is a picture taken from systems biology book. Systems biology is one of the cutting edge area in modern medicine. And so when I give a talk on talk about the contemporary relevance, I'll touch upon this. But here, what I want to draw your attention to is the similarity between these pictures, this one and then here. So this one is it's again a network of proteins. So you all may have heard of genome and proteome and metabolome. So they are modern medicine is not talking of anymore talking of individual genes and proteins and metabolites. They are talking about how these are networked and how these are interacting with each other to give emergent properties. So this is a network of proteins, and you can see that this one on purpose I have drawn this this way, so that the similarities are brought out very clearly. The only difference between this and this is what these nodes. So in a network, these are called nodes. What these nodes represent is the only difference between this and this. So what the nodes represent here are properties in Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is basically talking of what we can call system functions, because you have these functions at all levels. You can see movement at this level to this level, right? So Ayurveda is talking of system functions, functions that transcend these hierarchical levels, and also properties which exist across the system. So you can, there is dryness, you can see dryness at this level, you can also see dryness at the level of the entire organism. So Ayurveda is talking of system properties, it's talking of interactions between these system properties. And when these are in balance, it denotes health. And disease is a system perturbation in Ayurveda. It's interesting that modern medicine is also beginning to view diseases as a system perturbation. And so how does the treatment work in Ayurveda? It's simply to get the perturbed system back to balance. Right? So you can have any number of theories, but whether they are convertible into successful clinical practice is what defines the success, especially in a clinical science. So how the theory of Vata, Pitta and Kapha is converted into a successful clinical practice, I will not go into the details of this in today's lecture, but we'll give you an idea of how it has been done. Because the human system has been understood in terms of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, all factors which play a role in health and disease and treatment are understood, brought onto the same platform of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So this acts as a platform, common platform for be it plants. Plants, we use it both as dietary ingredient as well as for making medicines, animals the same way, food ingredients and environment, lifestyle activities, all these play an important role in health and disease. All these are classified in terms of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and the clinical symptoms are also understood in terms of Vata, Pitta and Kapha. It makes life easy, very easy for an Ayurvedic doctor, because the diagnosis will be based on Vata, Pitta, Kapha, whether it is a Vata disorder or a Pitta disorder or a Kapha or a combination. A disease can be a Vata, Pitta, Pitta, Kapha or Vata, Kapha, or all the three Vata, Pitta and Kapha could have gone out of balance. So once the diagnosis is made, treatment becomes very easy. So for example, if it's a Vata disease, then what happens is medicines which reduce Vata will be prescribed. Food which increases Vata should be avoided. Food which decreases Vata will be prescribed. Activities which increase Vata will have to be avoided, and so on. So this is how Ayurvedic diagnosis is made and treatment is administered. So if you look at the therapeutic approach of Ayurveda, there is no delinking diet and the activities and the treatment. So maybe in the tomorrow's lecture I will share with you some very interesting case histories as to how, without giving medicines, just by using proper diet and lifestyle activities, the disease can be cured. So the therapeutic approach of Ayurveda is quite comprehensive. So let's now list out the fundamental difference between the Western system of medicine and Ayurveda. Allopathy is structure-based, Ayurveda is function-based. Western medicine simplifies complexity by reductionism, and Ayurveda manages complexity by a systems approach. It's looking at the entire system. Allopathy deals with disease, Ayurveda deals with both health and disease. The word Ayurveda itself is, tells you that it looks at both disease and health. Ayu means life, Veda means science. So it's a science of life, it's not a science of disease. Modern medicine is a science of disease. And the preventive medicine is at a very nascent stage in allopathy, whereas in Ayurveda, prevention is also its strength. I have put in this word also because people presume that Ayurveda is good only at prevention. People presume that it's not really good at treatment, or if at all it's good at treatment, it's very, very slow. So it's not true. So prevention is one of the strengths of Ayurveda. And if you look at the diagnostic in allopathy, it's structure based, and this is again function based. It's based on the dosha, vata, pitta and kapha. And the treatment addresses symptoms, and the interventions are generally mechanical in nature. In Ayurveda, the treatment is, it analyzes the symptoms and addresses the causative factors. It goes to the root cause of the problem. So different heights, different views, different understanding, different terminologies as well. So this shows the landscape of a forest. So taken from this height, right? So you get to see the entire landscape. You get to see the landscape in its entirety. You don't get information on nuanced details. Now this is a microscopic structure of a leaf in one of the tree here. So here you see details, but you don't get the entire picture. Here you get the entire picture, you don't get to see the details. So there is a big difference between Ayurveda and modern medicine. So what you see determines how we are going to treat it. So because modern medicine is looking at this level, the treatment is at this level, it's very targeted. And because Ayurveda is looking from this viewpoint, the treatment is more systemic. So it's tomorrow's lecture I will talk a bit more of this, but I would like to finish the first part of the lecture today, telling you all that what I have mentioned about the dosha is just one small aspect of how Ayurveda looks at the human system. So Ayurveda talks of 4 different domains: structure, physiological domain, psychological domain, and domain of consciousness. Each of these domains is networked within itself. For example, if you look at the structures in the system, they are networked through channels which are called srotas. If you look at the physiological domain, they are networked through the dosha, vata, pitta and kapha, which is what I had tried to explain to you all. If you look at the psychological domain, they are networked through parameters of vata, pitta, kapha. There are also other psychological parameters like sattva, rajas and tamas. They also have further subclassifications. And the consciousness is networked through levels of awareness. Now what is interesting is how there is a overlap. These domains are connected within itself, but they are also connected to the other domains. You can see that vata, pitta, kapha acts as a link between structures and physiology. Again, vata, pitta, kapha acts as a link between the physiological and the psychological domain. Between the psychological and consciousness, there are the sattva, rajas and tamas acts as a link. But what comes as a surprise is the link between consciousness and structure. Because the first level of awareness is called Annamaya Kosha. Kosha means you can call it a level. Anna is food. So the first level of awareness is our physical body, and the physical body is made up of what we eat. We are what we are by what we eat. So food plays a very important role. So the first level of consciousness is linked to the structure. So you see that the entire human system is a huge networked entity. So there is no way you can make a change anywhere without a repercussion in the entire system. Be it in the psychological domain or in the physiological or in the structural, it's going to have repercussions in all the other domains. So Ayurveda connects body with consciousness. And it connects physiology to consciousness. Modern medicine connects physiology to structures. This is again another fundamental difference between the two. So in Ayurveda, everything is connected. The organs, the function, the physical body and mind is connected with each other. And the body is also connected to the environment. We are not isolated entities, we are dynamically interlinked with the environment. So the body, mind and consciousness and the environment, it's a huge network that Ayurveda is talking about. So I will end the first part of the lecture